Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you my longest video yet because I have 10 combos for this awesome deck. Today I'm going to share with you my Marincess deck profile. Now I'm going to share a lot of combos in the end because I just want to teach you as much as possible that I can with the time that I have combos and essentially nuances for the deck. As well as I think that this deck specifically, not only being one of my favorites, but it's basically a deck that I think sits comfortably as a tier 1.5 meta deck that kind of do really well. It's not as good as, of course, as Sprites and Tier Elements moving forward, but I still think as like a meta deck that is also very budget, it's a very good option to pick up. But before I jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It helps a ton and it keeps motivating me to want to create more. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this list, what you will change, and give a like to the video if you enjoyed. And without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, jumping into the deck list itself, I'm going to start things off, of course, with our Marincess monsters. And first things first, we're going to talk about the best normal summon of the deck, which is the 3 copies of Blue Tang. Now, Blue Tang, like I said, is the best normal summon on the deck, but even if you don't see this in your hand, you're able to still build some pretty good end boards. It's just this card in your hand just making economically speaking to like build your best end board like as an overall, because this card, when it's normal or special summoned, it sends any Marincess monster from your deck to the graveyard except another copy of itself. And another thing that this card also have going for it is that if this card was used for the link summon of a water link monster, you're able to activate the top 3 cards of your deck and then basically add any one like Marincess card monster, like Marincess card from your deck to your hand. So basically, let's say you reveal 2 Marincess cards from the top 3 cards of your deck, you're able to pick one and add it to your hand and then shuffle the rest into your deck, which is pretty good. Most of the time you're just going to see one because of the number of cards that we have for Marincess, but even if you whiff, it's not the end of the world because this deck has such an amazing recovery, that's why Blue Tang is so good, because the Foolish Barrel of Blue Tang, you're able to go into your link 1, which is Blue Slug, which immediately will be able to recover that card to your hand, which is absolutely ridiculous. So Blue Tang is definitely a 3-off and a must-run in the deck. Now for the next Marincess monsters, we'll run to our multiple Marincess monsters that are also extenders. We'll run 3 Spring Girl, 3 Seahorse, and double Pascalis. I think this is a pretty standard ratio where it comes to these cards. All of these cards also have just good graveyard effects as an overall. But basically, Pascalis is basically when you normal or special summon this card, you're able to special summon another Marincess monster from your hand, except another copy of itself in defense position. And then this card, what it does is basically when it's in the graveyard as well, except the turn it was sent there, you're able to banish it and recover another, recover a Marincess spell and trap from your graveyard to your hand, which means you can recover your dive, your wave, your battle oceans. You have options. It's just pretty good for that. As for Seahorse, it's a free special summon if basically to a zone a Marincess monster points to, Marincess link monster points to. So basically most of the time the combo that you're going to do with this is just go Blue Tang, send Seahorse, Seahorse get recovered to your hand with the Blue Slug, and then you just special summon it to the zone that Blue Slugs points to, and then you go Sea Angel and the rest of the combo. So that's kind of the main thing for this card. And then when this card like is in the graveyard except the turn was sent there during the main phase, you'll be able to banish it and special summon any water monster out of your hand to a zone a Marincess link monster points to. So that's a very nice, I guess, one-off like in order to like effect that you may be going to use. Maybe you mostly don't really use that, but it's still pretty good to just have, I guess. As for the last one, which I think is the monster that mostly the deck needed, is Spring Girl. Spring Girl is a free special summon out of your hand by banishing any Marincess monster out of your graveyard, which is pretty simple. It's just a free special summon out of your hand. And another thing that this card have going for it is that it's a level 4. Because this is a level 4, you're able to do so many cool combos with, like, you know, going to the Bahamut Shark or and like, you know, go totally awesome, or just in general just do some really cool things of just even sending this to the graveyard and then recovering it and then just like special summon it out of your hand and use it as a free special summon, because sometimes you do open up with the Seahorse and the Blue Tang, so having just another really easy free special summon is just really good. And also the other card effect that this card has is that if this card was sent to the graveyard because it was used for the link summon of a water monster, you're able to send the top card of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Marincess monsters you control, and then you burn your opponent for 200 for each Marincess card sent to the graveyard by this effect. It's not really something that comes up that much, but it's still really cool to have as, like, I guess, an effect in time. For the most part, you don't really use it for that, but it's still pretty cool, I guess. And then for the two one-offs of the deck, we have the one Mandarin and the one Sleepy Maiden. Mandarin is pretty self-explanatory. It's been from the very start of Marincess, I guess from Chaos Impact. But the point is, this card, if you control two or more Marincess monsters, you're able to special summon this card from your hand or graveyard, and by targeting one of those link monsters, and then special summon it to a zone its points to. So it's not really the best special summon, but still pretty good. And it's also just a good card to discard for Silent Mining, so that's good for that, I guess. You only need one, and it's mostly the least useful Marincess monster to use, but still very important in some particular cases to just have the ability to continue comboing off. And then Sleepy Maiden is just a one-off. Unfortunately, it's not a level 4, it's a level 5, so it's making this card a little bit worse. But this card allowing you to target any Marincess card you control and then special summon this card from your hand, and then you basically making that card just... Your opponent cannot be, just targeted, I guess, which is pretty good. And it's giving you just some kind of like a mini protection, but mostly what you care about is just it's a free special summon. And also in the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target one Marincess monster, link monster you control, and equip it with one Marincess link monster from your graveyard, which is really good because you don't always open up with Battle Ocean or the ability to get to Battle Ocean, right? So your opponent sometimes is going to negate your Sea Angel or other things like that, and you don't really have the Battle Ocean, equip 3 to your Aqua Argonath or Bubble Reef or whatever you want specifically. Mostly it's going to be Aqua Argonath, but you understand what I mean here. And having just another easy way to just equip from the graveyard, if you have it in the graveyard, is just helpful in so many ways. So that's why you want to run the one copy of Sleepy Maiden. And then that does it for our Marincess monsters. For our extension package, we run the Shark package. Some people don't really like the Shark package, but I run 3 copies of Abyss Shark and 2 copies of Silent Angler. Some people like to run 1 Silent Angler with the Abyss Shark, but I like to run 2, just in case I join to the one, so the other one will not be dead. And worst case scenario, I'll just search another one for the next turn, which will be just pretty good, I guess, as an overall. So Abyss Shark can special summon itself if you control a water monster, and then you basically special summon it. I guess, I believe it's also lock you for water for the rest of the turn, but you don't care. That's basically what your deck does anyway. So you're going to special summon it, and then you search a level 3, 4, or 5 fish, which is going to be the Silent Angler, from your deck to your hand. This can also be used as a level 3, 4, or 4 for the Xyz summon of a rank, or should I say a number monster. So we do have a target for that as well, as at least you can make this as a 4 with this to make it into a rank 4, but mostly it's either going to be used as a link material or, like I said, as a rank 4 fodder. And the fact that it's a free special summon is just allowing you to continue play is just really good. It's just a really, really good card as an overall, to just allowing you, just giving you a little bit more extension if your opponent stop you, and it's just very good. As for Silent Angler itself, when you special summon it out of your hand, you locked from not special summoning from your hand for the rest of the turn, but just special summon this as your last card. It's not really the end of the world or a big deal. So 2 copies of this do come up in grind game, and also, like I mentioned, I don't want to end up in a weird way that this is kind of going to be old Predator Plant engines or other engines like that you playing 3 of the good card, and then if you draw into the bad card, you're just or the less useful card, you just basically end up with an engine that is good but really, really worse. And also, just in general, this is not just a bad card in general to draw into as an extender if you don't see your Abyss Shark. So that's why I decided to go with that as well. But that does it for your monsters that you actually use. For your hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Nibiru, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre, 2 copies of Effect Veiler, and then the one DD Crow. I don't know, I just want to run 1 DD Crow because I just couldn't run and fit the second one. I want to run 40 card deck, so that's why I'm only running 1. Because the other card that I felt is important to run instead of the second DD Crow, just in case, is having 1 copy of Cosmic Cyclone. Again, just to remove things like Mystic Mine and stuff like that, so that's why I decided to go with the DD Crow as a one-off and running 1 Cosmic Cyclone one-off. I might just cut this completely if I feel like I'm just okay with 13 hand traps, and of course the Marincess way, which technically counts as a 14th hand trap. If we'll get to, I feel more comfortable with that, I might cut this all together and just run a second Cosmic Cyclone. But for the most part, these hand traps have been really, really good to me. And essentially, I feel like they're also going to be pretty okay in the next upcoming format. Nibiru probably is going to be a little bit bad against sprites, same with Effect Veiler, but you need to find the specific choke points, and these are just going to also be be good against Tier Element, so I don't know how Power of the Elements meta is going to be. If you feel like these should change for Power of the Element meta, definitely change them, but for now, these have been working pretty fine. But that does it for the monster lineup, which we run quite a few monsters. Now we'll move on into our spells. For our spells, we have 3 copies of Silent Mining. I don't really think I need to explain this one. This is basically discard a card, search level 4 or lower Cyrus monster. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And then for our Marincess spells, we have 2 copies of Marincess Dive and the 1 copy of Battle Ocean. Marincess Dive, I've seen some people run it at 3, some people run it at 2. I'm from the people who think that you need to run this 2. Even though I think this card is absolutely incredible, I don't really want to clog into 2 copies of this in my hand. And while you could make the argument that it's actually good to draw into, which I might consider playing the 3rd copy, I'm not really 100% sure. I think like 2 copies just doing their job. Basically, Marincess Dive is a monster reborn for any of your non-link Marincess monsters, and if you have Battle Ocean on your side of the field, it's an E-Tally directly from your deck for any of your Marincess monsters. So this card is pretty good, like I mentioned. That's why some people like to run this card at 3, because it's an E-Tally or a monster reborn, but it is a hard once per turn, so running more than 2, I felt it was a little bit too much, and it is searchable, so that's why I only run 2. As for Battle Ocean itself, what we really care about this card specifically is to activate online your Marincess Dive and be an equip for your Aqua Argonath, because when you link summon a Marincess monster to your extra monster zone, you're able to equip that link monster with 3 link monsters from your graveyard to it as equips, and that increased that monster by 600 attack for each equip, and also 200 for all of your Marincess monsters. So essentially with this card specifically, you increase your monster attack by 2000, which is pretty nice, but mostly you only need the 1. Like, I know that this card, some people will say, like, is really important. It isn't very important, but also not really very important, so you only just need the 1. It's kind of like a weird thing that, like, this is a really important card, but also not, because you can find ways to play without this. But it's definitely good that this, like, is a card that you search if you don't see this. So, like, if you see this. So it's kind of like a weird thing. You see what I mean when we'll get to the combo section. It's just a very, very good card, but not the main focus anymore, because now we have Marincess Dive, which is honestly a little bit better for most of your combos. And then for the 2 one-offs that I mentioned before, one of them, Cosmic Cyclone, because I do want to have backward removal, and Cold by the Grave to deal with additional hand traps that are going to be basically thrown on us if we're able to see it in our hand. And now for our traps, we run 1 copy of Marincess Wave. You only need the 1 now that it's searchable with Coral Triangle. Back in the day, you would run like 2 or 3 copies of this because you wouldn't see this in your hand. But now that you do have the ability to search this, it's definitely a cloggy card in your hand to have more than 1. So you only need the 1, and Pascalis can also just recover this to your hand during the next turn after the turn it was sent to the graveyard. So, you know, just having the 1 copy is more than enough. And then for your additional hand trap, I guess I always like to run 3 copies of Infinite Permanence, which can be, again, any other hand trap in the upcoming format if specifically this just doesn't really work. But that does it for the main deck of 40 cards. Now we'll move on into our extra deck. For our extra deck, we're going to start with our Link ones first. We'll run 2 copies of Sea Angel and 2 copies of Blue Slug. These 2 cards are really, really important to run as 2 of, I guess. I mean, Sea Angel, you only need to just resolve once a game, but it's just good to have the second one just in case you just want to Link Climb again, as well as just the first one is get negated by your opponent maybe during the first turn, and you're still able to make an end board, but not as that good, and then you just need the second one for the grind game. It's just really, really good to have the 2 of these. Blue Slug is just also like the main card in as like your Link 1, because this card is just like, when you Link Summon it, you're able to target 1 Marincess monster in your graveyard except another copy of itself, and then just add it to your hand, which, that's why I say, like, why its Blue Tang is so good, because it can send any of your Marincess monsters to the graveyard, and then this just can recover it immediately. So, you know, you just link with this into it, and you just recover for your Seahorse, or your Sleepy Maiden, or any of these specifically. Now, these can only be Link Summoned using level 4 or lower Marincess monsters, so Sleepy Maiden cannot really work with these, but they're still very good and very important. And if I didn't mention, Sea Angel is your Spell Searcher, so that's also another thing for that. As for your link 2s, you run 1 copy of Splash Mage, 1 copy of Arya the Water Charmer Gentle, and 2 copies of Curl Anemone. Curl Anemone is your main link 2, which if I had the ability to run 3, I will definitely run 3. But 2 is still fine. This card can revive any level, like any monster, water monster with 1500 attack or less. And then when it's sent to the graveyard, it's able to recover any Marincess card from your graveyard to your hand, except another copy of, I guess, Marincess Coral Anemone. So, or should I say a copy of herself, which is just amazing because you're able to recover your dive, you're able to recover material for like your link 3 that you want to just discard for it, that search your trap, which we'll get to that one in a second. This card is just really important. As for the Arya herself, she's actually going to start to become a little bit more important in the upcoming format against sprites and I guess against a little bit against 2 elements, even though they're mostly dark, because she's able to take the Kaleido heart, or whatever the heart is, like the water one that they have that is a warrior. She will be able to take that one, so that's pretty nice, I guess. But against Sprite, she will just take the Toad or the Swap Frogs and all these particular cards as well. As for the Splash Mage, I decided to go with it because it's just really important for your Pascalis slash Spring Girl combo. If you just open up with them and nothing else, it's just really important for that, and it's also just another really good extender for later turns as well. Now, running the Crystal Heart was something that I also considered for my Link 2s, but the more and more I played with it, and also just the more and more I like noticed, it just feel like Crystal Heart is not really that good. Although specifically, if you really want to run the Crystal Heart, you can either cut the Splash Mage or one of your copies of Sea Angel and just play it in your deck, but I specifically just felt I didn't really need it that much. As for your Link 3s and Link 4s, we'll run 1 copy of Coral Triangle, 1 copy of Marble Rock, 1 copy of Great Bubble Reef, and then the 1 copy of Aqua Argonath, and I'm going to change this around because 3 Ultra Rares, 1 Super Rare. I guess that just looks better for me in my eyes. Anyway, these are your high Link monsters, 3 and 4. Mostly for your Link 3, use Coral Triangle because she search as a card your Marincess Wave by discarding a card out of your hand, or should I say, send a water monster from your hand to the graveyard to search like a Marincess trap from your deck to your hand. And then the other effect that this card have, which is really good, is that if it's in the graveyard and control no monsters, you can banish this from your graveyard and special summon monsters from your graveyard, water link monsters from your graveyard that have an exact link rating of 3, which is amazing because it's just a great card for recovery later if your board get wiped. Now, one thing to say about this card is that this card can only be link summoned using Marincess monsters, so do keep that in mind in combos because you do need Marincess cards specifically. You can't link these with like Abyss Shark or stuff like that, so that's why this card is just you need to be very like, you know, you go into this mostly, but you need to be very specifically going like, you know, just using Marincess monsters. Just mentioning that. I don't know why I got confused on that for a second, but yeah, this card is really great. As for Marble Rock is your other option if you're not able to go into this, or just in general, just a good card. As a 2500 beat stick, it's actually not that bad, and especially with Battle Ocean, it can become 4500, which is basically bigger than Aqua Argonath. If you already used your Great Bubble Reef, it's just really big by itself. It's also able to recover for you a Marincess monster from your graveyard to your hand, I believe. So yeah, or should I say Marincess card from your graveyard to your hand, which is really good. And then also it can have some battle protection, I guess, but mostly what you use it for is it's your other stepping stone other than your Coral Triangle if you're going into this. As for your Link 4, Bubble Reef is the soul, like Heat Soul at home. During the standby phase, she's able to banish a water monster from your graveyard or field to draw a card. So it can be during your standby phase or during the opponent's standby phase, you get to draw a card. It's not like Heat Soul that you're able to draw in the same turn as well, because it's only during the standby phase, but it's still very good, and it also just becomes by itself if you count it as a 3200 monster. And then it also have the effect that this card basically also have the ability to send one water monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon one of your banished Marincess monsters, which is just in the later turn, can actually be really important if you banish, like, I don't know, like a big thing, and this survives, and you can just like revive it back, which is pretty good. Then we have the big new lady, Aqua Argonath. This card is absolutely incredible. This card has the ability to be a spell and trap interruption by special summoning a Marincess monster it's equipped with, which is really good. So basically that's why this card works really well with Battle Ocean. So basically, let's say you equip with this with, I don't know, Curl Anemone, you're able to negate the spell and trap effect, of course, and also just special summon the Curl Anemone. The other effect that this card has is that basically it can also bounce a water monster and, I don't know, a copy, like a card your opponent controls, which is just during your turn. Unfortunately, not during the opponent's turn. And it's also just force your opponent to attack only this card specifically. So this card is really, really good. It is a little bit more reliant on Battle Ocean because it is smaller than Great Bubble Reef, and unfortunately it's not like a 2800 or something like that. But it's still a very, very good card, and just having the Spell and Trap negate is just a very, very good effect as an overall. And then for our last monsters, or Xyz monsters, we have one totally awesome, one number for Stealth Kraken, and one copy of Bahamut Shark. These particular cards are cards that you just use for your Xyz plays. Bahamut Shark goes into the totally awesome, and then you link it off. And Stealth Kraken is mostly for the Shark package, if you're not able to use the Shark package to go to the Bahamut Shark, or you just have them as an additional interruption. Stealth Kraken is really, really good. Turn your opponent monsters into water monsters, and then you can just also pop them and just burn your opponent for like half of the attack of the monsters that you choose to pop. So that's also really, really awesome. But that does it for the deck itself as an overall. I don't know why Curl Anemone is on the top. The one that I wanted to be on the top is obviously Aqua Argonath. I don't know. Sometimes I'm a little bit like just not really focused like that. I like sometimes that happens. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for the deck itself. It's a pretty cool deck. It's pretty budget too as an overall, I guess. Because the cards that like got printed in a Legendary Duelist of the Abyss are, or should I say, whatever it's called, the Legendary Duelist, the water one, are not that expensive. All things considered, the most expensive card I believe is Abyss Shark, and even Abyss Shark is like $5 a copy, maybe in like $4.50 right now, if not less. And the rest of the cards have been reprinted multiple times, except of course the staples that depends on you. But the rest of the cards that are core for the archetype have been reprinted multiple times, so they should be easy to access for anyone. But that's pretty much does it for this deck. I really, really love this deck. It's a great, roguish, almost meta deck that exists right now, and it's actually very, very strong. So yeah, that does it for this. Now let's move on into our very long combo section. Welcome to the combo section, and in this combo section, I'm actually going to share with you a lot more combos that I'm going to share, like I'm sharing as usual. Most of the time I'm sharing like 5 combos. This time, I'm actually going to share with you 10. And the reason for that is because a lot of, like, you know, the Marincess combos are kind of very, very simple in, you know, the understanding of what you need to do, but there are some particular nuances and changings of, like, you know, play style depending on the cards that you open up in your hand. So we're going to start with our 3-card combos first, and then we're going to move into 7 2-card combos that I think are very important. And for our first combo, we're going to start with our combo of the 1 copy of Blue Tang, because it's basically the best 1-card combo. So let's get started. Starting things off, of course, we're going to normal summon Blue Tang, uses our effect to send to our graveyard the Sleepy Maiden, and then we're going to link Blue Tang to go into our copy of Blue Slug. Now, in this particular point, let's assume we didn't hit with our Blue Tang, just to, you know, keep the combos as much as, like, you know, tight as possible. For the rest of the combo section, I'm just going to assume that we missed with Blue Tang, but we are going to use the effect of Blue Slug to add to our hand the Sleepy Maiden. Now we're going to use the effect of Sleepy Maiden, targeting Blue Tang, and special summoning it, and because this is not a level 4, we're going to link these two immediately into our copy of Coral Anemone, because we have to specifically go into that line. Now we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone, reviving an actual level 4 from our graveyard, which is going to be the copy of Marincess Tongue, and then we're going, or Blue Tang, and we're going to revive from our graveyard, revive it and link it into Sea Angel. I don't know why I got confused there for a second, but that's what you do. Then we're going to use the effect of Sea Angel, add to our hand the copy of Dive, and then we're going to link these two specifically into our graveyard to summon out of our extra deck the Coral Triangle. Now we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone, add to our hand any of our main deck monsters. Marincess monsters could be either Sleepy Maiden or Blue Tang. It doesn't matter, because what we're going to do is that we're going to discard them immediately and add to our hand with the effect of Coral Triangle the Wave. And then we're going to activate the Dive, revive from our graveyard any Marincess monster that is not a link, and then link these two off into our copy of Aqua Argonath. Now you might ask yourself, well, Aqua Argonath doesn't really have, you know, a material like an equip. How good is she? Well, we're going to just banish our Sleepy Maid and use her effect in the graveyard to basically equip to our Aqua Argonath the Coral Anemone, because Coral Anemone can give us more recovery next turn, and essentially pass the turn to our opponent. And from this end board, we end up with the one copy of Wave, which is an interruption and a protection for Aqua Argonath, and also the effect of Aqua Argonath, which is a negate for spells and traps, and also 4 additional cards in your hand, just from one card. This is pretty much one of the most important combo to know, but that does it for combo number 1. Let's move on into combo number 2. For the next 1-card combo, all you have to open up with is a Seahorse, which we're going to start the combo right away by normal summoning that Seahorse and essentially link it off into our copy of Blue Slug. Now we're going to use the effect of Blue Slug to add to our hand a copy of Seahorse, and we're going to use its effect since we haven't used it and we have a Marincess Link monster. We're going to special summon our blue, or should I say to our zone of Blue Slug points to. Now we're going to link this off into our copy of Sea Angel, and we're going to use the effect of Sea Angel to add to our hand the copy of Marincess Dive. Now we're going to use these two and link them off into our copy of Coral Anemone, and then we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone to revive from our graveyard the Seahorse once more. Now we're going to use Seahorse and Coral Anemone to go into our copy of Coral Triangle, and use the effect of Coral Anemone to grab to our hand a copy of Seahorse. Using the effect of Coral Triangle, we're going to send to our graveyard a copy of Seahorse and add to our hand Marincess Wave, and then we're going to use Marincess Dive to revive one final time our Seahorse, and essentially link these two off into our copy of Great Bubble Reef. The reason why we've gone with Great Bubble Reef this time is because we don't have Sleepy Maiden to essentially banish from our graveyard to essentially equip to an Aqua Argonath, and that's why Aqua Argonath is basically dead if you're going into this. But Bubble Reef does basically grant you the additional draw by banishing a card from your graveyard, water from your graveyard or a field, which in this particular demonstration, let's go with a Blue Tongue, or Blue Slug, sorry, and essentially you're just basically getting during each standby phase an additional draw, which can be an additional hand trap maybe, or an additional follow-up card for the next turn. So you basically have a 3200 Bubble Reef plus a Marincess Wave, plus an additional card in your hand that you drew, and 4 additional cards that you haven't used, which I think is pretty good. But that does it for combo 2. Let's move on into our final 1-card combo. For the last 1-card combo, all you have to open up with is either a Spring Girl or a Pascalis, and essentially you have 1-card Bubble Reef. So, starting things off for this combo, of course, we're going to normal summon the Spring Girl, and then we're going to link it immediately into our copy of Sea Angel. Sea Angel effect, we're going to grab to our hand the Dive, and then we're going to activate it immediately to revive the Spring Girl, because we kind of have to. Now we're going to use Spring Girl plus Sea Angel, and we're going to go into our copy of Splash Mage, and then we're going to use Splash Mage effect to basically revive once again the Spring Girl. Using Spring Girl plus Splash Mage, we're going to this time go around into, once again, Coral Anemone, and then we're going to use Coral Anemone effect because we can revive any monster with 1500 or less attack that is a water monster from our graveyard. It doesn't have to be in defensive position, so that works perfectly. We're going to revive the Splash Mage. Then we're going to use Splash Mage plus Coral Anemone, and finally, we're going to go into our copy of Great Bubble Reef. And essentially, with Coral Anemone, we have the ability to either add to our hand the copy of Marincess Dive, because it says you can basically add any Marincess card from your graveyard, or you can even add the Spring Girl if you choose. I essentially add specifically the copy of Marincess Dive because it allows for more extension than a Spring Girl, but of course if you have additional cards in your hand or you want specifically, you can always add the copy of the Spring Girl. Now of course, you could use the Spring Girl effect essentially throughout this combo, but again, just like Blue Tang, I'm not going to use that effect just to show you the kind of worst case scenario if you use the effect or anything, so you don't, we're not going to go to using the effects that just don't really guarantee anything, something specific. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for this combo. You basically open up with basically kind of 5 cards hand, which one of them is the guaranteed Marincess Dive, and the rest can be hand traps or whatever. And also, once again, the draw with the effect of Great Bubble Reef during the standby phase. So that does it for the third 1-card combo. Now let's start and go into more complex combos, which are your 2 cards combos. Alright, so for the 2-card combos, that's where the deck kind of just starting to become a little bit more complex, and you need to understand specifically what you open up with. But for our first 2-card combo, we're going to open up with a very standard one, which is a Blue Tang plus a Seahorse. But unlike old times, you're actually going through a different route that are going to just take you into a Great Bubble Reef, plus an Omni Negate, plus a wave in your hand. So let's get started. Start things off, we're going to normal summon the Blue Tang, and we're going to use her effect to send to our graveyard the Spring Girl. Now we're going to link this card off, and we're going to go into our copy of Blue Slug, and we're going to use the effect of Blue Tongue, of course, and of course, like I said, all the time we're just going to assume that we miss, but the effect that does matter is the effect of Blue Slug, which will add to our hand back the Spring Girl. Now we're going to special summon the Seahorse due to her own effect, and we're going to use Seahorse to link summon into the Sea Angel. Sea Angel effect will grab to our hand the copy of Not You. I grabbed from the wrong pile. We grab Marincess Dive, and then we're going to link these two into you. I don't know why I grabbed from the wrong pile, but there we go. Now we're going to basically link, of course, into Coral Anemone as I mentioned, and then we're going to revive from our graveyard the Marincess Blue Tongue, and then we're going to use Blue Tongue plus, well, Coral Anemone into our copy of Coral Triangle. Coral Anemone effect will grab to our hand the copy of Blue Tongue, and we're going to discard it immediately to grab to our hand the copy of Marincess Wave. Now we're going to use the effect of, well, Spring Girl to banish from our graveyard any of our Marincess monsters. I would recommend to banish the Blue Slug, because it's basically, you know, one of the worst ones to basically stay in your graveyard. It doesn't really do anything. We're going to special summon it to our side of the field, and then we're going to use the effect of Marincess Dive to revive the Blue Tongue. And then we're going to exceed with these two immediately into our copy of Bahamut Shark. Now we're going to use the Shark effect. We're going to touch a material and special summon to our side of the field the Ribbit card that we can essentially use this card hopefully for the next few formats, but if this card get banned because of Sprite, it is what it is, but for the time being, let's just enjoy using this card. Worst case scenario, the rank 4 that you're going to go into is Stealth Kraken. It's just better to go into this card, but Stealth Kraken is not a bad option either. Now we're going to use these two because they are water monsters, and we're going to go into our Great Bubble Reef, and that is where the combo ends. Basically, like I mentioned before, Great Bubble Reef, which giving you another draw, a Marincess Wave, which is a Monster Negate, and an Omni Negate, with the Totally Awesome, which also technically, when it sends to the graveyard, basically also recover for you a card out of your graveyard back to your hand, so that's another really, really cool thing. You can get to your hand back the copy of Blue Tongue, and essentially just, you know, have a very, very good next turn. So, yeah, that's pretty much does it for combo number 4. Now let's move on into our next 2-card combo. So for the next one, we're going to start with Seahorse plus any of our level 4s that is not Blue Tang, so it can either be Pascalis or Spring Girl. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to go with the Pascalis, and let's get started with the combo. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon Pascalis, use the effect to special summon the Seahorse, and then we're going to link the Seahorse into our copy of Blue Tang as always. We're going to use the effect of Blue Tang to add to our hand the copy of Seahorse, and then we're going to special summon Seahorse, and we're going to link it immediately into our copy of Sea Angel. Now we're going to use the effect of Sea Angel, and instead of searching of Dive this time, we're actually going to search the Battle Ocean. I'm going to activate Battle Ocean immediately, just so I wouldn't forget, and then we're going to link these two off into our copy of Coral Anemone. Anemone is going to revive the Seahorse out of our graveyard, and then I'm going to link these two once again into our copy of Coral Triangle, and then we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone, grab to our hand the copy of Seahorse, discard it with Coral Triangle to add to our hand the copy of Marincess Wave. Now we have two monsters that we can link immediately into our better link 4 out of the two when you think about it in terms of interruptions, and that's why we're going to go this time into our copy of Aqua Argonath. We're going to equip the Argonath Marincess Coral Anemone, and we're going to equip also Blue Tongue, I guess, and also, I guess, Coral Triangle. You can also just decide not to equip Coral Triangle because it's better engraved, but then again, if your board is wiped, Coral Triangle is just, regardless, going to be in the graveyard anyway. But anyway, that's pretty much does it for this combo. So basically in this combo, you ended up with a Marincess Battle Ocean, which is better in terms of, like, you know, protection and everything, and also this becomes, I believe, 4,300 due to the equipment of all of these, and also you end up with the Marincess Wave, which is another interruption, and of course Argonath, which is 2 interruptions with 2 cards. This time it's a little bit less good, like I mentioned, because 2 cards, 2 interruptions is worse than 1 card 2 interruptions, but it's still pretty good and a very, very much important combo to know. But that does it for combo number 5. Let's move on into our next 2-card combo. Alright, so for this combo, we're going to basically open up with Pascalis and Spring Girl, which is basically going to end up in the same way as the 4th combo in terms of Great Bubble Reef plus Marincess, Wave, and Toad, but essentially just do things a little bit differently. So let's show you how we do that. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon Pascalis, and then we're going to use the effect to special summon the Spring Girl. We're going to link specifically the Spring Girl to our graveyard to go into our copy of Blue Slug, and then we're going to use the effect of Blue Slug to enter our hand back the Spring Girl. Now we're going to use Pascalis, and we're going to link it off into our copy of Sea Angel, and then we're going to use the effect of Sea Angel to enter our hand the Dive. Now we're going to use these two specifically to go into our copy of Coral Anemone, and Anemone is going to revive from our graveyard the Pascalis. Now we're going to use Pascalis plus, Anemone to go to our Coral Triangle. Now we're going to use the effect of Coral Triangle to revive from, not Coral Triangle, Coral Anemone to get to our hand back the copy of Pascalis, and then we're going to discard that Pascalis to add to our hand the copy of Wave. Now we're going to activate the effect of Spring Girl to banish from our graveyard, let's say this time Sea Angel, and we're going to special summon it out of our hand, and then we're going to use the effect of Marincess Dive to revive Pascalis, and then use these two to go into our, basically, Bahamut Shark. Bahamut Shark effect will detach one of these from it as a material to special summon the Toad out of your extra deck. And then we're going to take both this and the Coral Triangle to go, of course, into your Great Bubble Reef to your side of the field, and essentially ending the combo there. Now for this particular combo, again, you basically did the same thing as the 4th combo, but a little bit in a different way. So yeah, that's pretty much does it for this combo. Let's move on into the 7th one. Moving on to our 7th combo, we're going to do 7th and 8th are going to be our Shark combos, which are going to be opening up with Abyss Shark plus our Spring Girl. Now, Spring Girl can also be the copy of Blue Tongue. It just, depending on the, if you open up with Blue Tongue, you're going to do a little bit of different order of things, the standard Blue Tongue sends Seahorse, and then essentially, do the Seahorse, Sea Angel, and then Coral Anemone. But in this particular combo, we're going to do things a little bit differently due to the fact that we open up with the Spring Girl, and I just want to show this combo line. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon the Spring Girl, and then we're going to link it off immediately into our copy of Sea Angel. We're going to use Sea Angel effect, and we're going to add to our hand the Battle Ocean. Now we're going to use the effect of, Abyss Shark, because we control only water monsters, and we're going to special summon it out of our hand, and add to our hand the copy of Silent Angler. Now we're going to use Abyss Shark and our Sea Angel, since these two are water monsters, and we're going to go into Coral Anemone, and Coral Anemone will revive out of our graveyard the Marincess Spring Girl. Now we're going to use Marincess Spring Girl into our copy of Blue Tang, and then we're going to add from our graveyard to our hand the copy of Spring Girl, because we can. We're going to use the effect of Spring Girl by banishing the copy of Sea Angel and special summon it out of our hand, and then, since we're not going to special summon from our hand for the rest of the turn, we're going to special summon the Silent Angler. We're going to take these two specifically, and we're going to Exceed Summon into our copy of Bahamut Shark. Of course, I did not forget to activate this, by the way. And we're going to use Bahamut Shark effect, detach a material, and special summon to our side of the field the Toad himself. Now we're going to take Blue Slug and Coral Anemone, because we have to take these two specifically to the summon of Coral Triangle. And we're going to use, of course, the effect of Coral Anemone to enter our hand, not the Abyss Shark, but the copy of the Spring Girl. Coral Triangle will discard the Spring Girl to enter our hand the copy of Marincess Wave, and then we're going to take these two finally to essentially link summon into Aqua Argonath. And then we're going to use the effect of Battle Ocean to equip to our Aqua Argonath the Coral Triangle, I guess, the Blue Slug, and of course the copy of Coral Anemone. And then we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. And this particular reason why I position it that way is just to play around Mech Knights, which is not really a prevalent thing, but I still want to play around Mech Knights. But that does it for this combo. This is a 2-card combo that basically got you into 3 interruptions with the Omni Negate, Monster Negate, and spell and trap negate, and also the recovery for the next turn if this specifically survive, which is pretty cool. But that does it for combo number 7. Let's move on into combo number 8. Alright, so for our second shark combo, we're going to open up with Seahorse plus Abyss Shark. And in this particular combo, because we didn't open up with a level 4, we're actually going to do something a little bit different. So to start things off, we're going to normal summon the Seahorse and link it off immediately and do the normal Seahorse thing. Go into the blue slug, add it to our hand, special summon, link summon into our Sea Angel, add Marincess Dive, link these two off into Coral Anemone, revive it from our graveyard due to the effect of Coral Anemone, and of course link these two off into our copy of Coral Triangle. Now we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone to add to our hand the copy of Seahorse, use the effect of Coral Triangle to send it to our graveyard, and once again add to our hand the copy of Marincess Wave, and then we're going to activate the copy of Marincess Dive to revive the Seahorse. Now we're going to use both Seahorse and, well, Coral Triangle to go into our copy of Great Bubble Reef. Now, what we're going to do is, because of the fact that we couldn't really go into, Bahamut Shark and go totally awesome with this, and essentially kind of like use this as an extender rather than anything, to kind of like do in the previous Spring Girl plus Abyss Shark combo, or Spring Girl, or should say Abyss Shark plus a Blue Tang. Instead, what we're going to do is that we're going to use the effect of Abyss Shark right now, since we control only water, special summon, and add to our hand the copy of Silence Angler. Silence Angler will special summon itself out of our hand and lock ourselves from any special summonings that are not, like out of your hand. And then we're going to take these two, because this can count as a level 4 when we're going into the summon of a number monster, and we're going to go into our Stealth Kraken. And that's how we're going to end our turn. Instead of having an Omni Negate with the Totally Awesome and everything like that, or like basically have an Omni Negate, spell and trap negate, and a monster negate, we did end up with a destruction, kind of a heat soul, and essentially a Marincess Wave, which is still not that bad and is a very important combo to know. But that does it for this combo. Now let's move on into our Marincess Dive specific combos. For our 9th combo, we're going to go with Girl, I don't know why I had a tongue twister there, and of course the copy of one of our spells, which I mentioned before, which is going to be Marincess Dive. Now this can also be Battle Ocean, because it doesn't really matter which one of these you search, but essentially the chances of you opening up with a Marincess Dive rather than a Battle Ocean is twice as much, because I run 2 of this instead of a Battle Ocean, which I only run 1. But now let's get started with the combo. So normal summoning the Spring Girl, we're going to use it immediately to go into our copy of Sea Angel, because you have to go that line specifically, and we're going to add to our hand the Battle Ocean. We're going to immediately activate Battle Ocean just to have it in our side of the field, to then be able to activate once again, or should I say the better effect, of Marincess Dive. Marincess Dive will allow us to special summon Blue Tang directly from our deck, and then Blue Tang will allow us to center a graveyard the copy of Sleepy Maiden. Now we're going to use Blue Tang plus Sea Angel to go into our copy of Coral Anemone, and then we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone to revive back the Marincess Blue Tang. Now we're going to use Blue Tang to go into our copy of Blue Slug and add to our hand the copy of, or should I say not this one, but the other one. I mean, it doesn't really matter for the most part, but we're going to add Sleepy Maiden just because I want to make this a little bit more clear. So you add to your hand the Sleepy Maiden. Now we're going to use Blue Tang and the Coral Anemone to add to special summon out of our extra deck, of course, the Coral Triangle, and then we're going to use the effect of Coral Anemone to add to your hand the Blue Tang, which then you're going to discard immediately, of course, to add to your hand the copy of Marincess Wave. Now we're going to target the Coral Triangle with the Sleepy Maiden, which actually you could have done before if you wanted to protect this effect specifically. We're going to special summon it from our hand to our side of the field, and then we're going to use these two to link summon into your copy of Aqua Argonath. And then we're going to use Aqua Argonath, or should I say Battle Ocean, to equip to our Aqua Argonath, Coral Anemone, Triangle, and essentially Blue Slug. As always, as usual, I always like to play a little bit around Mech Knights, but for the most part it doesn't really matter. But that does it for the 9th combo. Basically opening up with this is kind of just doing the same thing but a little bit different. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Now let's move on into our 10th and final combo. Now finally for our 10th and final combo, we're going to open up with our copy of Blue Tang, as well as a copy of Marincess Dive in our hand. Now this specifically can also be, again, Battle Ocean, and this can also be Seahorse. In the previous combo I also should mention that the Spring Girl could also be a Pascalis, but for the most part you get the idea. You basically open up with these two and you got yourself an Omni Negate and a Spell and Trap Negate, rather than the previous one which you get a Spell and Trap Negate and the Marincess Wave in your hand, which is a Monster Negate. So you'll see what I mean. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon the Blue Tang. We're going to use our effect to send to our graveyard the copy of Seahorse, and then we're going to do the normal thing as you did in older combos, which is going Blue Tang, add the Seahorse, special summon Seahorse, go into your Sea Angel, and then grab to your hand the Battle Ocean. Now we're going to activate the Battle Ocean so we wouldn't forget, and then we're going to take these two and make your Coral Anemone. Now we're going to use the Anemone effect to revive specifically the Blue Tang because it's a level 4, and then we're going to use the effect of Marincess Dive to special summon out of our deck the copy of Spring Girl. Now we're going to take Spring Girl and Blue Tang, of course, because they're 2 level 4s, and we're going to go into our copy of Bahamut Shark. We're going to use the Blue Tang, I should say detach a material. I don't know why I said Blue Tang. We're going to use the effect to detach a material and special summon directly from our extra deck the Totally Awesome. Now we're going to take these two, since we cannot go Coral Triangle with this one. We're going to instead go into a card that we haven't seen in the combos yet, which is a shame, but you know, it's the lesser rank, or should I say Link 3, but still very, very important. We're going to go into our Marble Rock, and we're going to use Marble Rock effect to grab to our hand the copy of Spring Girl. After, of course, the Coral Anemone will grab to our hand the copy of Dive because of her own effect. So Marble Rock will grab this after we grab this with the Coral Anemone, because we will have a little bit of a better setup for next turn. And then we're going to use Spring Girl effect to banish from our graveyard one of our Link monsters, which with this one I will go with Sea Angel, special summon it to our side of the field, and then I'm going to take these two and Link summon into your Aqua Argonath, as we have Marincess Battle Ocean on our side of the field. Then we're going to use the effect of Battle Ocean, and we're going to equip Argonath with 1, 2, and 3 equips, and that's how we're going to pass our turn. So as I mentioned, you're going to have an Omni Negate, a Spell and Trap Negate, and also you have a Marincess Dive for next turn as a follow-up, as well as an additional 3 cards in your hand, which is pretty good. Well, that does it for the 10th and final combo. Yes, we're done with these. And I hope you enjoyed and learned something, because there are a lot of like really cool nuances to the deck, and I really enjoy to kind of like go through a lot of combos. Like, I really like to do the combo sections quite a bit, and I like to kind of like make very big and guided videos, but I think this is a very long one, so might as well just jump into the next deck choices for the next options that you have to choose for yourself. Alright, so for our next deck choices, once again we have the 3 returning options. And then finally, I'm going to put comfortably, once again, also Blue Eyes. So we have Shark, I believe, Mutant, Dual Avatar, and the last option is going to be, once again, Blue Eyes, because I'm finally comfortable to releasing the list that I kind of been working in for a while. So these are the 3, or should I say 4 options that we have. Like I said, Blue Eyes, Shark, Mutants, or Dual Avatar that you can choose for next week. And yeah, that's pretty much does it for this very long video. So hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new. This has been a very long time to make. And honestly, I really enjoyed it, but like I said, very long to make. It's, I believe, a 50-minute video as I'm going to release it to you. So yeah, very long. But that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed, hope you, again, learned something new. Give a like to the video if you enjoyed, of course. And if I earned your subscription, please hit the subscribe button. It helps a ton. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.